You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. It is 11 PM UTC. It is 6 PM in Central Daylight Time, 7 PM on the US East Coast. My name's Nathan Foy, and Harvey continues to intensify. According to Force 13's analysis, which is not official, now 110 miles per hour and a pressure of 969. The National Hurricane Center haven't said anything officially beyond 85 miles per hour, but we expect they will upgrade the storm to a Category 2 in the next hour, as a recon plane heads for the storm. I'm joined by the Skype team this evening, as I have been for the whole 5 hours that we've been running so far, and we hope they have been useful, informative, and whatever you wanted from it, we hope that you got, and we hope that you enjoyed the questions and answers. You can send in more questions, and hopefully you'll get more answers from us in the next hour before we probably retire. However, on our channel we will have more updates throughout tonight and tomorrow, and live updates again tomorrow. Craig, looking back at the imagery yet again, anything new? Thoughts?
Wow, it's looking really impressive.
It's completely been engulfed by that huge flare-up, and we're going to struggle to give you intensity estimates now that the eye has completely been masked.
Hidden away. But to be honest, looking at it, it might not be long before we see it again.
Do you agree with us that this is on the cusp of being a major hurricane?
Yeah, this literally is knocking on major hurricane door.
Crikey. David?
It's definitely deepening. We can't ignore the flood threat, the heavy rainfall.
Absolutely. I mean, that is still a massive threat. I mean, we're looking at the thing right now, but good lord, you know, it's intense as well. We thought 2 days ago, maybe 3, that this would be a 70-mile-an-hour landfall in Texas on Saturday,
and now it's basically just,
and that rainfall would be potentially the only threat. Still a huge threat, but the only threat. And now we're looking at not only rainfall, but now we've got a storm surge, possibly 10 feet, whereas initially we were thinking maybe 1 or 2, and hurricane force winds, when initially we were thinking of tropical storm force winds, and not only hurricane force, but major hurricane force winds for the first time on US soil since 2005, contiguous United States. And you know, what else? Forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, you've still got the tornado problems as well that could produce tornadoes. I mean, you look at that western side there looks so powerful, and just from the cloud tops you can see how unstable it is under there, Craig.
Oh yeah, there is, I believe, a new
microwave image.
Can't screenshot it.
All right.
Yes,
Nathan, I just want to.
Hold on a minute. We've got this microwave imagery.
Yes, with a big thunderstorm. Yep, you guessed it.
Wow, that's huge.
That shows you how strong it is in microwave imagery. That's helping the eye wall out very immensely.
Craig, for those not aware, microwave imagery, what do we look for?
Well, basically,
You look for that big red blob, and you look for a decent eye.
Yeah, you do. And curved band, which you can see north and south, and to right up to the far north there. That's pretty much what you look for, and basically secondary eyes for eye wall replacements. That's what we use it for.
And it's got the S shape as well there that we always look for as hurricane trackers.
The classic hurricane shape logo.
And it's a pretty good one.
Nathan, just on the microwave, I just started posting the microwave imagery shows Harvey gearing up for round 2 of intensification.
I don't think round 1 ended.
No, I don't think it ended. No.
I mean, I don't know whether people are being fooled, but underneath those cloud tops you've got an eye temperature in the positives.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you could be looking at... I mean, I dread to think what we'll be looking at tomorrow morning.
So do I. I literally had that bad feeling during that break. Was, you know, this thing could really fly open an eye. For what we find.
Yet still its movement is unclear.
That's an absolute nightmare. And hurricanes are unpredictable, and we can't tell where they're moving. Normally turn out to be the big strong ones.
Yeah.
ABC News, sorry Nathan, ABC News is reporting storm surge 6 to 12 feet, waves 10 to 20 feet.
Well, you don't need ABC to report that. The National Hurricane Centre is reporting that, and they've, you know, like anyone else, just repeating what the National Hurricane Centre is saying. Up to 12 feet expected in some areas.
Recon now finding tropical depression force winds and now getting tropical storms, so they are now entered Harvey.
The recon plane has entered Harvey?
Yep.
So they're now recording tropical storm force winds, and well, during this hour it might be very intriguing then. You think they're going to go straight through, or they're going to go around the periphery first?
No, they're going straight through it.
They are? So that should only take a few minutes.
But I think they're actually in that outer band. If they're finding tropical storm force winds in that little outer band, that's incredible. Okay,
let's see if we can get some questions whilst we're waiting. First of all, Lee Fraser just put in a question. When will the worst make landfall? That is a very vague, in a way, question, because first of all, we don't really know what the worst is going to be, and we really don't know when it's going to make landfall exactly, but our best guess is for the coast of Texas, you know, early Saturday morning.
Round about there.
Or during the night of Friday night, Saturday morning. David, you got something for us?
This is from the Hurricane Hunters.
When was this?
First flight through.
Today?
Sorry, I've got an earful of audio, so this is one of the crews in action.
Craig, do you think this will make a Category 4 landfall, as someone asks?
Well, as I've said, anything's possible. It could do, it might not. I don't want to cause alarm, but it might.
I'd be surprised, personally. Well, to qualify that, if it was to make landfall in the location the National Hurricane Centre is predicting, as you can see, and there's the recon flight again, I don't think you'll see a Category 4 landfall in the position that they've marked out. Now, if the storm moves further south, though, like it may be doing in these frames, the potential for a stronger landfall increases because land interaction looks like it will get in the way between 1 p.m. Friday and 1 a.m. Saturday. Those two dots there, the M dots for major hurricane. They think at the first major hurricane dot, 1 p.m. Friday, that it will be 125 miles per hour Category 3. And at the second dot, they think it weakens to 120. So slight weakening. Probably due to the land interaction and maybe some cooler waters and lower ocean heat content as well. And the slowing down in forward motion too, slowing down in its motion, and they think it will horrendously stall on Sunday into Monday in almost exactly the same place as a hurricane into a tropical storm, and still be a tropical storm by Tuesday when it's moving off the coast near Galveston.
So that's when some could be a rather horrendous event.
More questions. Chances for a brown ocean effect. Craig, do you want to talk about that?
Brown ocean.
Yes.
Oh.
Intensification over land areas, usually very wet land areas. Florida's a good example.
Yeah, Florida a very good example. With a hurricane, which we won't go there. But
I'm not sure. I mean,
I really don't know. You like the
people are often reminded of, I think it was Erin of 2007, wasn't it?
Oh, good Lord.
That became a tropical storm way inland over in Texas. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. I don't think it's going to go that far inland to begin with. More questions though. We've got to hurry along here because I want to take as many questions as possible in this last hour that we've got here. Okay. Could we see it become a Category 5? Well, as Craig said, anything is possible. We really can't say. I mean, you're looking at it right now. It's happened before, is all I can tell you. Devon said earlier 50% chance. 50% chance of Category 4. And I think he's just said 5% chance, Devon says, for Category 5. I think, is he quoting the right one?
Reckon is getting on the hurricane.
I'm sorry?
Recon is getting into the hurricane
that's right
now.
Yeah, so Devon thinks less than 5% chance for it to become a Category 5. I think it's maybe a little bit harsh. I might put it at 10%. Is the eye wall temperature linked to deepening pressure? Not directly, but it's usually a good indicator.
Yes,
normal. Let's see. More people putting in their predictions, whether it will be whether it's 106 miles per hour, 970 millibars. That's not too bad an assumption.
It's not that bad. Of course, it could be worse. That's not bad.
But again, it really depends on the direction it takes as light begins to fail over the area now.
Actually, Nathan, looking at the last image, there could be the eye starting to re-emerge.
Really?
But yeah,
I don't think so.
Not by much.
Not yet. Not quite yet. Let's try and get to the radar imagery from Brownsville once again, and to see it will probably shed light on something that we can't see, which is the structure of the eye and whether that has maintained. And it would appear, Craig, that maybe it's been squashed a little bit north to south, but it's still very much there, and it's got quite a western eye wall now.
Oh yeah.
And even more rain in that band associated beyond it to its west and northwest, and it's slowly inching closer towards the coast. And further north you can see little bits of rain here and there. Not too much going on. David.
I-37.
Evacuations.
From Corpus. Yes, and look at it. Corpus Christi heading towards San Antonio, as reposted via the Texas storm chasers.
And around 3 hours ago, a new tropical storm formed in the Philippine Sea, Tropical Storm Pakar, which is just off the coast of the Philippines now, and will be making landfall there later today, as day is dawning over there. And is likely to move through the Philippines, possibly over Manila, and then off towards Hong Kong area and into China, and could become a typhoon before impacting that area. In the meantime, I don't know if you want to go back to some spaghetti model plots, Craig, because we've not looked at those since, say, probably the second hour of our show, which was quite a while ago.
Those were intensity guidance, but spaghetti models would have been until kind of an essay by Harvey was important.
Some models say that the storm will make all of over Texas, and then it will make, and then they will go over to Louisiana.
Yeah,
and
quite a few models suggesting that, and delivering huge amounts of rainfall too.
And 2 models says that the storm will go to Mexico.
Oh, look at this. Now that's an ensemble, it looks like, and quite a lot of those ensembles.
NCEP.
Now I think actually, you know, the National Hurricane Center is sort of almost torn into having it loop around there. It's quite possible the storm will loop when it gets into Texas, and then loop, you know, first moving northwest and then swinging around south to then east, sort of like the green track almost.
What would cause that sort of situation to occur? What I know this is going to be a technical question.
Well,
is it the steering mechanism breaking down, or
yeah, you know, and it's waiting to be picked up by the front or whatever it is.
That's probably why it's going to stall.
And this has been on the cards for quite a while as well, that it would slow down and stall over Texas, and that's why people have been so worried about it for so long, because even before it intensified, which again we say we weren't really expecting, the rainfall amounts are still going to be astronomical in some places. Like, you know, huge amounts, akin to Tropical Storm Allison, only much worse in the form of potentially a Category 3 hurricane at landfall, which is what the National Hurricane Center is predicting.
And that's a bit concerning.
But there's those ensembles going literally like spaghetti all over the place.
Yeah, but especially the blue.
But I would say the model consensus right now is for, well, it's sort of what the National Hurricane Center is saying. Craig, would you agree?
I would somewhat agree, yeah.
Somewhat?
Somewhat, yeah.
Alright, we'll continue to take questions during this last hour that we have here. We're already 18 minutes in, so make sure you make it count. Let's see, very worried about the rain portion of this storm. From my local area, had 1.5 inches of rain yesterday, and we're 15 inches above average for the year so far. Thanks for that comment. That sounds pretty bad, and it's going to get much worse. I don't know where exactly you live, but if it's anywhere in Texas, then coastal Texas, you were looking at another 20 inches plus. Why does the eye look like it vanished? You must have just joined us, because we were talking about them quite a while. Well, I'll tell you, yes, the eye looks like it's vanished, doesn't it? It hasn't. The radar will tell you that the eye hasn't vanished. You can quite clearly see the eye. It's still there, but it's been completely overshadowed by massive amounts of thunderstorms and convection on the western side of Harvey's eye wall, which has just completely outclouded the eye. It's still there, and it's still deep, and possibly deepening. We don't know, simply. And it's a sign of intensification, and it's not good. Back to David, and again you can see the models there now pretty much almost unanimous that it's going to loop west, and then that's a mess.
It is a mess.
I think I found a term that's used for it. I think, well, I've seen the term used called rapid convection deepening, which is associated with rapidly intensifying storms.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I would have seen something like that would have been in the southern hemisphere, believe it or not. With Winston.
All right, let's take a look at this. Again, we're looking at the flooding here, because there's questions about Houston. You're right to be worried about Houston, with the storm potentially stalling over there. It doesn't look quite as likely that the storm will stall over Houston, but it will still deliver a hell of a lot of rain. And at the moment, the National Hurricane Center looks like it's putting you in the 15 to 20 inch band. That's 1.5 feet. That is significant, and it could lead to dramatic flooding in that area as well. Do you think Harvey is a major hurricane right now? At the top of the hour, we put it at 110 miles per hour. That's what we think of it right now. So that's our personal official stance, but not the National Hurricane Center's official stance. They're staying at 85 miles an hour, but they are awaiting reconnaissance flight data, which will be arriving this hour, we expect.
Looking at the recon, it might just refresh.
Yep, apparently we want to show the HMON model.
Go.
Now, I've seen the HMON model, but I didn't see much of it.
Okay, the EF 307 is now well and truly in Harvey.
Somewhat vague question, will the sea rise? If you mean a storm surge, then the storm surge could be as high as 12 feet in some of the areas. Just to remind you, a storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island. A storm surge watch is in effect for south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. And just to say, the storm surge totals are like this expected. If it strikes at high tide, North Entrance Padre Island National Seashore to Sargent, 6 to 12 feet. Sargent to Jamaica Beach, 5 to 8 feet. Port Mansfield to North Entrance Padre Island, 5 to 7 feet. Jamaica Beach to High Island, 2 to 4 feet. The mouth of the Rio Grande to Port Mansfield, 2 to 4 feet. High Island to Morgan City, 1 to 3 feet. Worst case scenario, that is. And whilst you get to take a look at the screen that someone's showing us, one of you, I'll just again read out the wind probabilities latest. The first number I read out for the location will be the chances of tropical storm force winds %, and the second number I read out will be the hurricane % chances. Brownsville 75-10, Harlingen 76-9, McAllen 63-3, Corpus Christi 99-52, Rockport 99-71, Port O'Connor 99-68, Matagorda 97-48, High Island 69-14, Freeport 92-30, San Antonio 76-6, Austin 70-5, Houston 81-10, Galveston 80-19, Port Arthur 56-7, Coatsay 53-3. Never sure about that pronunciation, by the way. It's probably all wrong. Jasper 41, no hurricane chances. Cameron, Louisiana 50-8. Lake Charles 44-4. David, what are we showing?
Just bringing up the HMON.
Yes.
And the other HWRL was about 9:56 on landfall.
Okay, some interesting questions. What year is a tornado coming to Frederick, Maryland? I have no idea. Does the storm weaken only when the eye crosses land or when the preceding spiral starts to make landfall? Quite often the storm would start to weaken in advance of the eye's landfall. But it does depend how quickly it's moving. If a storm's moving quickly, it's likely to be stronger when it makes landfall as if it was moving slowly, because land interaction will start to tear at it straight away. Of course, it's quite different for different areas. Flatter areas of land will weaken a storm less than mountains would, so this is another cause for concern, and it's probably why the National Hurricane Center thinks it will emerge as a tropical storm still, whereas if it was somewhere like Taiwan, notorious for being typhoon killers, weakens a storm 2 categories over 12 hours. We're not looking at that. If this storm was to make landfall as a category 3, it would still be, they think, the National Hurricane Center, that it would still be a category 2 12 hours later, which I think is remarkable if that's true. But there we are again. And plenty more questions. More about the brown ocean effect, which we're still not sure about. I guess it's a possibility, but the storm will be so close to the ocean it won't be moving very far inland. You know, it's just going to be on the edge anyway. Apparently Stephen wants us to show a 3D graphic of some sort of the cloud tops. I don't have any to hand at the moment. I don't know if Craig has any. When does the storm surge stop affecting the coast? Is that when the system stalls? I expect that waters would be elevated for quite some time, probably until it weakens to a tropical storm maybe. But obviously the worst point will be when it comes into landfall. But storm surge will, you know, it could take days to clear when the storm moves through. What will happen with 92L? Probably not much. A weak tropical storm is probably its only prospect. Could all the rain Harvey will drop on land help it maintain or intensify in strength? Especially if it ends up skirting the coast instead of going deep inland. If it was to skirt the coast without making landfall, I doubt it would survive as a hurricane even then. Might be a mid to high range tropical storm, depending on where it goes after that. And then, is this an isolated hurricane? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but please specify. David.
H1 is showing 913.
I know, indeed. And it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Though what you're looking at would be the very worst case scenario, never a guarantee.
Yes. And that's why I say when viewing models, caution needs to be applied, because unfortunately the public only get to see a certain amount of models, but there are many models that don't even get into the public arena, and models are run numerous times. We're only looking at the major runs.
You would think it was the end of the world if you were watching the GFS model this year.
It's been something.
Again, we're looking at the imagery as the light fades over the area around Hurricane Harvey, which is still only officially 85 miles an hour, but they will be doing an update soon, and no doubt they'll be upgrading the storm. Whether they'll upgrade it to category 2, well, we'll see. Craig, can Recon confirm?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. That's not going to be in time.
No, they're running out of time.
Let's see if we can get some infrared imagery up on the screen. I'm going to see if I could do that at the moment. I'll tell you what, Craig, I'm not sure. Looking at the latest imagery shows something. Hold on. So I try to get this imagery up here.
Giant.
Craig, I don't know if you're able to see this on the stream, or will do in a few minutes. The stream runs at around a 15-second delay, but Craig, what do you think of this mess? It's ridiculous.
It comes up on the screen.
Huge blow up.
That is a giant thunderstorm.
It is. It's just completely enveloped and engulfed the entire storm.
That's pretty worrying.
More questions. Do you think the eye will deepen? The eye might be deepening underneath all that. We don't know.
Yeah, but you can't see it. So Maybe.
We can see it on radar, of course, but it doesn't tell us how deep the eye is.
No.
Whilst I search for that radar, David, I want you to talk us through the rainfall accumulation forecast there.
This is available on the Tropical Tidbits website. This is one that I normally show in the updates, even over here on the Australian Oceania channel. And this is the GFS model. This is one or two that I follow. But look at the rainfall scale right hand side of the screen. The yellow represents
And still expanding
24 inches. It is, Nathan, it really is.
That is a huge area. And all of those
Yep.
orange... Oh gosh. Now we're going out into... Well, that's out to like 16 days on the last frame there.
Yeah,
But by the 16
240
day...
hours.
But in the next 16 days, 2 feet of rain is going to fall over all of those orange areas. That is insane.
And there's the forecast period. So anything above 240, forget it. And that's the extended range, but it's not good.
Is Harvey going to weaken before hitting land? The National Hurricane Centre think it will weaken slightly before making landfall by 5 miles an hour. It really depends on its angle of attack. Sea surface temperatures along the coast of Texas will be a little bit lower, but no relaxing. The storm, even if it weakens by 50 miles an hour before landfall, won't mean much for the effects that we're anticipating here.
Yeah.
Is there any tropical waves heading off the African coast? Everyone's focused on Harvey. What, you think we shouldn't?
Actually, something we haven't looked at is
We'll go there
shear
shortly.
vorticity.
Well, before you go there, I'll just show again the imagery. I don't know, Craig, the eye is capitulating on the radar.
Morphing in size and shape.
So what do you think's going on?
Hell knows.
Helpful.
Very unhelpful.
I have honestly no idea what Harvey's doing anymore.
Wait and see, isn't it, Craig? That's all we can do is wait and see.
Well, yeah,
But our
that's
thoughts
okay.
are for those people in its path.
Over to David's graphic about the vorticity there. Oh, and the actual...
Sorry.
Oh, look
Wind
at the
shear.
actual shear map, because that's probably more important here, and you can see it's, you know, a wind shear is not really going to be an issue. It's very rare that you say that in the Atlantic.
If anything, the way the wind shear is positioned, it looks like it could easily enhance its outflow, which is not good. So that means it can help the storm intensify even faster. Isn't good. If you're out of the land area.
And you can just about see the rest of the Atlantic on that image as well. There's hardly anything going on in the central Atlantic there.
The thing that worries me at the minute is that Harvey's got that blob, like a massive blob of convection to his north. Pretty much there since all his life.
What, Harvey? Yeah, well, that's probably what caused a lot of that rainfall in the Lake Charles area. That's caused already maybe some standing water issues and possible flash flooding.
Is 92L interacting with Harvey?
I shouldn't really think so. 92L is so disorganised, you could barely say it's interacting with anything.
Yeah, there's just that yellow area there, Florida. Now, the viewer asked, or one of the viewers asked about
Yeah, please
the
go through them for me,
wave.
because I'm not looking right now. But go ahead.
I'm looking at the two areas in yellow. What I look for is the red and the white or pinkish bright. So we could say one wave close to the African coast and the second one to the west.
Gaston.
Oh my.
So we
Gaston was a storm that was formed last year, indeed.
Oh yes. I.
Gaston is also the name of Marcel's cat. Meanwhile, the wind shear tendency. Now, that's interesting. A small uptick in the shear along the coast of the Texas-Mexico border.
So you reckon it could penetrate or go to the west, northwest, or even northwest, away from that?
That's odd.
But for Harvey,
Obviously, prohibitively high shear further north. I tell you, you know, people who are talking about regeneration and re-intensification if it moved back over the shore, it's got that to contend with, and I don't think it will win.
Well, that's,
Sorry.
let's say, a day or two out
I'm sorry?
before it gets there with that shear. Pretty much hasn't enough the jet stream.
It sort of is, isn't it? Bit of a protracted version of one.
But rather overweight them or overfed.
And there's another view. We'll bring you back with the latest satellite imagery shortly, just before nightfall.
But nightfall would not be far away.
Yep. I'll just give you the latest view here now, I believe. There it is, and the expansion of that thunderstorm
Unbelievable.
convective burst is just, it's really overtaken the storm. It's about as big as the storm itself now.
Yes, this is one surprise, it just jumped in pounds.
And David also showing us a wide shot there as well. And again, you can see not much else going on in the Atlantic, and it's all like 92L sort of looks like an extension of Harvey at the moment.
Yeah, it pretty much is there though.
I mean, it looks very monsoonal over there. Over Florida into Cuba, into the Western Caribbean.
It's not really seeing it. I thought we
Yeah, it's,
But yeah, we're here for another 20 minutes or so before we finish up with the streaming for today, at least. We have been here for nearly 6 hours with the latest news as it's been developing, and we will have more updates regularly throughout tonight into tomorrow, and also on our social platforms as well. Force13 all in text on Facebook and Twitter. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord. Can't help you much whilst I'm on the air, but when I'm off the air, I'm a little bit more freer. There's about 2 people that does 10 jobs in here. In any case, that's the latest right now. We'll continue to take your questions for the amount of time that we're here. And start your message with Force13 all in text. It will light up nicely, and if you want us to show any particular imagery, then we can go ahead and do so.
And Recon has now started to arrive in the worst.
It has? Okay, well we might get some news here. What's it getting at the moment?
It's only just getting 55 to 60 knot winds
Right.
so far. Not much to go on so far, but something.
I just really can't tell what's going on there. The radar has thrown me. The radar shows what might be a capitulation in the eye.
The
What's
storm
going on
could
now?
be
Hold on.
changing- Storm could be changing.
Now,
throughout
Craig, are
the
you
day.
are you seeing this radar? These latest frames show that the eye is gone
What?
on radar.
Okay, radar just gave out.
I don't know what's going on with that, but besides, you see that leading edge of rainfall looks pretty heavy now. The red zones there on the western side, Could only be about 100 miles away from Brownsville at this point.
Nathan, the eye isn't gone, the eye's shrunk.
Well, the eye is shrinking on that image, but at the way it's going, it'll be gone in the next frame.
If it is, then Jesus Christ, what the hell?
It's gone from around 15 miles wide to 2. It's odd, isn't it? It's, you know, even when we saw on the satellite imagery during Matthew last year, after it made its first landfall over Haiti, and you couldn't really see anything of it on the satellite imagery, yet it still had its eye on radar imagery from Cuba. It's nothing like what we're looking at here,
Weird.
where it seems to have just morphed into a monster supercell.
And that's why, and just going back, Walrus has said, I will replace
Yes.
it. It's not.
Well, it might be an odd eye wall replacement cycle if it is one. I do think it's a possibility, Craig.
It's one of the weirdest ones if it is one.
An unorthodox
if
eye
it-
wall replacement cycle.
If that is a eye wall replacement cycle, that will be a very rare and strange. Strange, because
Yeah.
Strange is a bit of an understatement. What the hell? That even got me.
Oh dear.
That's-
An odd noise over there. In any case, there's a huge area of significant rainfall going on in the western side of Harvey, and that will become a concern later on. Don't forget, it's going to be the earliest point that you could see tropical storm force winds will be first thing tomorrow, really, especially if you're in South Texas. First light, you need to be ready. Certainly by lunchtime the storm will arrive with tropical storm force winds along the whole coast of Texas, beyond Victoria, almost as far as Galveston by evening. Then hurricane force winds will probably begin tomorrow evening, or maybe tomorrow afternoon, and then it will move inland, slow down and weaken.
but yes, if that is I don't expect a eye wall replacement cycle.
I think it's because of that thunderstorm. It's compressing the eye.
Crazy.
And
That will be very strange.
Right. Let's bring us back to the latest satellite imagery again and see if we can piece anything together here.
good luck with that.
We're struggling.
I'm just looking at right now, I just don't know where the hell to start.
Well, if Craig doesn't know where to start, then I think
Good
we're
luck with
all
anyone else.
messed up. We will be watching and waiting for the next National Hurricane Center advisory, which is due to come out very shortly indeed. We will be finishing up with the stream in another 15 minutes, though, so we will be finishing up, unfortunately, but we will have further updates throughout tonight.
That would be perfect.
Nothing
That-
going on with-
the- The hurricane is about to get into the center of the storm.
There's no one near it yet.
How long do you think that will be, Craig?
Well, just over 10 minutes ago, it should be near enough right at it. If not,
Right.
pretty much in.
Well, maybe the NHC are holding out for that update before they update their advisory.
Ugh.
But there is the latest as of right now. What you're looking at, the latest on Hurricane Harvey, which is slowly moving towards the United States and raising a lot of question marks.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Not
if
only in
they-
its movement, but in what it's actually doing right now.
I would not be surprised if the MC just go, what the hell going on?
Simply, I don't know what this storm is doing.
Expanding.
Here? It looks like that's thunderstorm here. That's
I did, just the. I think one thing we can be sure of is that it's probably not going to end well.
No, because normally that one, I've never seen that in a hurricane. God, Harvey, you were one odd bugger.
Let's just say at the least that it shows massive potential. Whether the potential is realised for this storm to become what some models are predicting, Category 4 at least, remains to be seen. But at the moment, you know, we were thinking maybe it was on the verge of being a Category 3. No, not at this point. You've got to be able to see the eye if you're going to call it a Category 3, and we can't. So I think we would keep it at around 110, 105 miles an hour around now.
And yet, it's more thunderstorms, and they're not in sight. How many thunderstorms do you need?
But don't forget, officially only 85 miles an hour, and only the National Hurricane Centre can change that, and their update is coming up at any time in the next 15 minutes. And I'd be very intrigued to see what they say and their reasoning behind it.
I would not be surprised if the NFC just gave up with this and going, what the hell are they doing?
And some news. San Antonio, for those people leaving Corpus Christi to San Antonio, and the Department of Transport down there in Texas will begin courtesy patrols beginning northbound 135 at 10 p.m. tonight.
I-35, is that?
Yeah, I-35. The transport cars will be painted white and will have the distinctive Flying T logo on both doors with Texas Department of Transport in blue lettering. All trucks will be equipped with amber and blue flashing light bars. Look on the door for the truck ID beginning with the numbers 15 or 16, and crews will have water and fuel supplies only to help the motorists reach safety, and crews will only offer enough fuel to get you to a gas station. So that's starting at 10 p.m. local time.
There must be some real large-scale queues and traffic evacuations for these people who, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say leaving it late, because 2 days ago we didn't think this would be, for most people, something to evacuate over, yet now we've got whole cities that ought to be evacuating right now and ought to have done already.
And Nathan, here's this thought. What now, this is something for the future. I've been thinking about it. What is the population number likely to be impacted by Harvey within the entire region?
Millions?
So I'll leave that. Well,
don't know how many millions. Tens of millions.
Just a thought I had. So
there's going to be lots of people affected by this, no doubt. The rainfall, again, it's going to be massive in a huge swathe of the coastal region of Texas, from Corpus Christi to pretty much the border with Louisiana, and inland extending some distance as well. And in Louisiana even, you know, most of the state expecting at least 6 inches of rain.
I think there is 7 million people living in that area.
Okay, well, just 7. I thought it'd be more than that.
I think the 80-90% is the population of Houston.
Right.
Of the Houston metro area.
We will stick around just until the National Hurricane Center update comes out before we finish up here. Just to reiterate the warnings, a storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island, Texas. A storm surge watch for south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. Marcel?
And breaking news.
Yes.
The hurricane has found a pressure of 972 millibars.
Okay. Well, that's a new low pressure officially. No surprise at this point. What about wind speeds? Any idea?
Around about the same.
I'm sorry?
Around about the same.
So,
they
85?
About there. It's hard to tell with the estimates.
64.
Okay, a hurricane warning in effect for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas. A tropical storm warning for north of Sargent to High Island, south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane watch for south of Port Mansfield to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A tropical storm watch for south of the mouth of the Rio Grande to Mogadicatan, Mexico. And we're just about finished for tonight until we find out the latest National Hurricane Center update and deliver to you the new forecast graphics. We will at least do that before we disappear. But as I say, we will be doing regular updates after we go off the air tonight, and we will be on the air again tomorrow evening at some point. And just to stay up to date, and obviously the local, if you're in the area impacted, I'm sure your local authorities and news and the National Weather Service will provide regular information and advice on what to do and whether to evacuate. And of course there's plenty of voluntary and mandatory evacuations out there along those coastal regions of Texas. But we've been watching this for 6 hours, and Craig, do you want to you've been here for the whole 6 hours with me, the only person who has,
Yep.
and describe what you've seen in terms of Harvey's progress in that time.
Impressive, and now just towards the end, what the heck? Just what?
Indeed. Let's see if we can...
Oh, on radar.
Eye wall looking stronger. Okay, let's try and get another look at that eye wall on the radar whilst we wait for the National Hurricane Center to update.
Because from what I'm seeing, they're showing around
Welcome, Lee.
50 on the western side.
Yeah, I thought it'd come in just for a couple of minutes.
The eye is still there, Craig.
Holding strong for now.
So you were right, the eye is smaller. And is it a new eye wall?
It doesn't look like it, because it's the same eye wall that was there.
Very curious. Now I think that might be.
I'll never know because it was off radar for so long.
Oh, no.
Harvey, what are you doing?
Okay, more questions before we finish here. Should we get out of Houston at the moment?
Well,
I think if you're in if you're in a flood prone area, if your area was severely affected by the floods from Allison, evacuate if you're in the Houston area. Winds will probably not be the biggest issue. Tropical storm force winds will be likely, however, so you've certainly got to take the preparations seriously. But it's going to be rainfall, the biggest thing for Houston and all the areas around there. Galveston probably as well.
I agree.
Rainfall, and with the storm's movement continuing sort of, well, the radar suggesting west-northwest, it looks slowly less likely that places like Galveston and Houston will have significant winds, but don't let's say that is for certain yet.
Where's that noise coming from?
I'm sorry?
Where on earth is that noise coming from?
Which noise?
I keep hearing clapping.
Oh.
Yeah,
Maybe,
not to worry.
maybe you're being applauded, I don't know. But we're just waiting for the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, which is due
very shortly.
at any time. And we have been waiting
Very
for that
short.
for some amount. They probably will do it a little bit late because they are doing regular advisories. But if you do want to keep asking some questions for a few more minutes, go right ahead.
I'm going for Cat 4. 130.
Well, it is a possibility with the National Hurricane Center predicting 125 miles per hour winds.
I think it'll click Cat 4. I think it'll go 130. So,
Craig, is there any news from Recon?
Yes, there is news from
Oh, there is
Recon.
Marcel. He's
They
watching it
have
too.
found 970 millibars.
970 millibars.
Pressure.
What about wind speed?
Hmm. They have found like that 30 30
30?
miles per hour wind spread there, but that's because they are at
They're
the
in the eye. Yes.
Yeah, it's usually lighter winds inside the eyes.
70.
So that is the latest. That's, I don't know what the National Hurricane Center are going to go with on their advisory based on that information, but 970 millibars. Let's take a last look, if possible, of the GOES 16 imagery as the light just about runs out. Oh, here it is. Another big flare up in those latest images, Craig. Well, a flare up beginning perhaps. Oh, Craig's gone. But a potential flare up beginning on the northern side. So that again looks interesting. Craig mentioned the possibility of the ice starting to appear again. I think that might be happening very slowly, but not at the moment.
Nathan, National Weather Service Charleston has just put out a posting whilst the focus is on Harvey. Please keep in mind that there is a disturbance that could pass off the southeast coast, and that's 92L.
Yes, of course. Well, that is one for people of the Carolinas to be looking at. They won't really be looking at Harvey from their point of view unless they have people they know there, of course. But as you can see on the imagery, the eye isn't gone. It's smaller, about half the size it was. And I do wonder if it's a new eye wall that's been built in there. Craig's not convinced.
It's very possible, Nathan. Very possible.
And you know, if it's a new eye, then you could be seeing some more rapid intensification occurring overnight tonight.
I still think so, Nathan. Yes, I still think it'll continue to rapidly intensify. I think it'll do it all the way up until near landfall.
Nathan, do you reckon it is undergoing an eye wall replacement? Or it's still the same one?
I don't think it's an eye wall replacement.
Well, if we knew, David, we'd say for sure, but it could
Yeah,
be,
I
might not be.
I'm asking you.
Well, don't ask me.
Why?
Because I don't know the answer.
It's I think it's just trying to build itself. A decent eye wall. I really do think Harvey's going to be the worst storm for Texas in about 12 years or so. So
Well,
not good. Not
9
good. I
years.
don't know. Well, I'm hearing it's 12, Nathan. So
let's not forget Ike, which did just shy of $40 billion of damages.
Oh, was that a major though? In Texas?
It wasn't a major, but that goes to
No, that
show that
wouldn't
it's
stand.
irrelevant
Yeah,
of what the
that's a lot of
intensity is,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Ike was a
I'm
category
talking
2
major,
downfall.
Nathan.
The
I'm
Ike
talking
was
major.
close to a Category 3, however.
Yeah, I'm just going on the major anyway.
Let's make no mistake, it is likely that looking at this,
It won't be a major.
that the major drought will end for the US landfalls, and as I keep saying, the unbelievable stat that is, it's been 12 years since the last time a major hurricane made landfall.
Yes, that's what I was trying
in
to say.
the contiguous United States, and you know that gap is the longest drought, constitutes the longest drought in the history of the United States, because the last time there was a drought of that length, the United States didn't exist. It was 1775. Outrageous how long the gap has been. But we're still waiting for the latest from the National Hurricane Center, who are due to update at any time, and whether the warnings get extended at all is another feature that remains to be seen.
The wind's 85 and the millibars are dropped to 974. I don't agree with just saying 85, but there we go.
So the update shows that it still has 85 mile an hour winds, which I think is
I think it's a bit stronger
weird.
than that now. Be a bit stronger than that now.
Well, they say 974 millibars, which is nonsense because they've just recorded 970 millibars just now.
Yeah.
In any case, that is the situation.
Yeah.
But we think
That's
it's
it.
around 105 miles per hour potentially. That's what we went
Right.
with our latest information. And I just want to gather the forecast on what they think will occur, but that doesn't appear to be out yet.
Oh, that's the next step.
Location is 25.0 degrees north, 94.3 degrees west, about 275 miles south-southeast. Correction, southeast of Corpus Christi, and about 270 miles south-southeast of Port O'Connor, Texas. 85 miles an hour or 140 kilometres an hour, northwest at 10 miles per hour. And as mentioned, central pressure is 974. It changes to watches and warnings 0. And Nathan, before I forget this, for our viewers, when we do finish up tonight, you can always post your questions, comments to any of the updates that will be in the pipeline on the main channel till we come live again.
Which will be at some time tomorrow. Unfortunately, my schedule isn't looking very good this weekend. But we'll try to come back live at some point during the next 24 hours indeed. But there will be plenty of updates in between, hopefully. Well, we've still got 1 or 2 questions. Is it unusual for a storm to enter the Gulf as a tropical storm and grow into a Category 3 by the time it makes landfall? No. One of the most weirdest examples is probably Anita of 1977, which formed in the central Gulf of Mexico and moved west-southwest, and hit Mexico as a Category 5. Can you believe that? It happened.
Oh wow!
But
Wow.
you know, that's one of some examples of storms that reach significant intensities as it made landfall. I mean, you know, some of the classic examples. I mean, even Katrina
That's a very good
was only a
example.
Category 1 when it entered the Gulf. Doesn't count though.
No, it did get to Cat 5 Katrina over the water, but I think it hit as a Cat 3 Katrina. Is that right?
Accompanied by a Category 5 storm surge, no doubt. Though people were comparing this to Katrina earlier, and I do warn against that. It's nothing like Katrina.
But was it, Nathan? Was that a Cat 3 at landfall Katrina?
It was 125 miles an hour Category 3, but you cannot
Right, Cat
compare this to Katrina based on how this is expected to be 125 miles an hour as a Cat 3.
No, but I do think
landfall.
Harvey's definitely caused serious damage.
Well,
And the
For those
people
who aren't
trying to get
prepared.
out of Corpus Christi, they're stuck on that highway. And Nathan, the contraflow is not operational, but they do have a third lane heading outbound. So whether they might open up the contraflow, which will make it, what, 4 lanes? So we will continue to monitor the scene, and
any more from the
The,
recon flight?
we can't.
We got 970 millibars earlier, and that's what they'll be going with on the next advisory.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Next advisory will be in a couple of hours.
Or sooner if they issue a surprise update, as they sometimes do. They did earlier today. Usually they only do it if it rises a category or 2. but I'm just holding out here waiting for the forecast, which hasn't even come out yet, because we need to bring you the forecast for Harvey before we go, but they haven't put it out yet what they say. Maybe they're having a real think about it. It's odd it's taken so long for it to come out yet.
At 7 p.m. CDT, the eye of Hurricane Harvey was located near latitude 25.0 degrees north, longitude 94.3 degrees west, and as mentioned, he's moving northwest. And the discussion on 48-hour outlook, NHC is saying they expect Harvey forward speed will reduce, decrease.
There isn't a forecast advisory considering it's an intermediate. I thought it might have been a actual advisory.
Oh, so it is out then. It has come out.
Yeah, they won't be changing the forecast after all.
Right.
I thought that it would have been the actual advisory.
I get you there, Dave. I thought this was an actual advisory.
Anyway, there we are. So there's the latest, and I expect that not too much will have changed during the in the forecast. But nonetheless, we're looking at a potential major hurricane landfall in less than 2 days from Hurricane Harvey, and we will be here best we can during that time. Stay up to date online on our social mediums. And I don't know, anyone have any finishing thoughts before we conclude?
Lee, what's central pressure, mate? Do you think it'll peak?
Right, no, I don't think it's peaked yet. No.
No. What do you think it'll peak?
Wait, oh, wait, do you think it? Oh, right. I think it'll go down to 930s. Millibars.
The way it was going, it might well do, but
yeah, but
I don't know. I think
we'll
it's
see. Just wait and see, Nathan. It's a difficult one.
That's all we can do.
It's a difficult one. Just wait and see.
I think its intensification rate has halted a little bit in those last few hours. But in any case, that's the end for us tonight. We will be back again tomorrow at some point. Thanks for sticking with us whilst we were here being confused most of the time. We hope that the live stream has been of some use during this very stressful time as it is. We witnessed one of our members evacuating the Corpus Christi live on air, which is the first time that's ever happened with any of our team, Isaac. And he's off somewhere towards Austin. Where Hank is, he's also hunkering down, taking in some evacuees, I believe, over there in Texas. It's going to be a tough few days. Even if it isn't because of the wind, it will be the rain. 20 inches plus for large swathes of Texas, and you better believe that's going to happen, because it looks pretty much certain that large areas will get nearly or over 2 feet of rainfall over the course of the next 5 days as Harvey figures